we would appreciate it. I'm Mike Brenninger. Welcome to the Spring 2026 Candidate Forum, highlighting new county board, city council, and mayoral candidates. Tonight you will have an opportunity to hear from the candidates with their public statements and question and answer time for the mayoral candidates. I would like to take a moment to recognize the sponsors of this event. Southwest Partners, a nonprofit community development group. The Richland County Ministerial Association, representing much of the church community in Richland County, and WRCO Radio, the voice of Richland County. We also want to thank the candidates for their appearances tonight and for all those who serve in civic positions in Richland Center and Richland County. Thank you for serving. Enjoy yourself and learn what the candidates for office will bring with them as they seek to serve the people of Richland Center and Richland County. And now we will have Father Kuhn come to offer the opening prayer for the event.
Well, it's good to be with everyone this evening. My name is Father Nate Kuhn. I am the pastor at St. Mary's Parish here in Richland Center. So let us begin with a prayer. We begin by calling upon our God in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. May the Lord, who went about doing good and serving all, be with all of you. God is love. In the desire to make us share in his love, he sent his Son into the world to come to our aid and in gentle kindness to help all people, especially those who are weak, sick, or unfortunate. In his great love for all of us, Christ said that whatever we do for the least among us, we do for him. He called those who show mercy blessed of his Father and promised them eternal life. Let us then pray for the Lord's richest blessings on all gathered here. In a particular way, these candidates who are desiring to serve and assist their brothers and sisters in public office. So let us pray. Blessed are you, Lord God of mercy, who through your Son gave us a marvelous example of charity and the great commandment of love for one another. Send down your blessings on all here present, and on these your servants, who are seeking to generously devote themselves to helping others. When they are called on in times of need, let them faithfully serve you in their name. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, your Son, and our Lord. Amen.
Now please stand and remove your caps for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. My name is David Dedoon, a senior at the Richland Center High School.
And I'm Sheila Troxel, a community member. And we have been asked to be your MCs for this evening's candidate forum. We wish to thank all of you for attending this very important event this evening. We want to explain how the process will work. You will hear from each of the county board candidates give a statement about themselves. They will each have 3 minutes. They include Shirley Welty, Darlene Waldsmith, Tegla Petra, Michael Windle, and Kevin Nolan. After they are done, we will have the city council candidates give a statement about themselves. They also will have 3 minutes. They are Frank Hoffman and Christopher Jarvis. Then we will have the mayoral forum. Karin Tepley and Elijah Kramer will each give an opening statement, and each will have 5 minutes. Then each mayoral candidate will be asked questions. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to answer those questions. During this time, we will be asking prearranged questions as well as questions from the audience. If you have a question, please make sure you see Becky Dahl, she's back there by the table, and give her a written question to her. We will try and get through as many questions as possible through the evening. If your question doesn't get addressed, we will give them to the candidate and ask them to respond on their election page. After that, Karin and Elijah will be allowed to make a closing statement of 3 minutes. The timing system will work as follows. When the candidate starts to speak, a green light will come on. When they have 1 minute left, the light will turn to yellow. When the light turns to red, they will need to stop talking. That way it is fair to all involved. So we're going to start with Becky Dahl. Shirley could not be here tonight due to some health reasons, and so Becky is going to read a statement on her behalf. Thank you.
Shirley Welty is the unopposed candidate for Richland County Board District 8, who was unable to be with us this evening. She will bring to the county board her experience with leadership, fiscal responsibility, and ethical, transparent decision-making. Over the last year, Welty has attended numerous county board and county committee meetings, learning about and becoming involved in resolving the challenges before Richland County. She is committed to stabilizing emergency management services, seeking positive outcomes for the UW Richland campus, and is dedicated to affordable rural living for families, seniors, and farmers. Shirley's love for Richland County began in 1979 when she first set foot in the county, visiting what was then her soon-to-be in-laws dairy farm. She and her husband, Dwayne, now live on that farm, raising a flock of sheep. Shirley has decades of leadership experience in the energy industry, building trust and helping people through difficult decisions by understanding how those decisions are made. Throughout her career, she has been active in local nonprofit organizations and economic development efforts. Richland County is faced with some tough challenges and has difficult decisions ahead. Shirley does not want to stand by observing from the sidelines while a slow decline occurs. She believes it is our responsibility as leaders to seek stability and protect and promote Richland County so that families and businesses may thrive. That is why she wants to represent Richland County Board District 8.
All right, we will begin with our questions. No? Oh, Darlene. Okay.
I'll start.
So next up will be Darlene Waldsmith Tagliapietra. I hope I pronounced it right.
Yes, you did great. I just worry more about the microphone and having one of those Forrest Gump moments where the speech ends with, and that's what I think about that, right? Anyway. My name is Darlene Waldsmith Tagliapietra, and I live in Richland County, in the city of Richland, in Ward 9, and here to ask your vote on April 7th to be entrusted to represent your family and interests. The area of representation is, for me, Ward 9 and 10 in town. However, I would be helping the whole county out with being assigned into the county board. But in the larger picture of Richland County map, I feel that we all represent each other. So me taking on the position, or I taking on that position, anyone can contact me at any time with any question or to know what's going on. If you'd asked me at the beginning of December if I'd step up and serve, would I step up and serve the county, I would be saying, that's on my bucket list, but not yet. And then the next thing I know, a few things happened here in our county, which are, for me, a concern, and it made me think closer about running for office. And with a bit of research, I believe I can make a difference and a positive impact on where we call home. So I have had these questions before on why Richland County. And some of you know me as a business owner. I decided purposefully to found a business here in Richland Center almost 6 years ago during the pandemic while raising 3 children. And although this has always been my home, make sure that Richland County is the place that my business thrives and other people's business thrive right here along with myself. And that my children had, I think, the best place to grow up. I do have some skills that I can bring to the position. One being a business owner, master's degree, a bachelor's degree, things like that, that says that I know what I'm doing. However, I also am a grant writer and a humanitarian. Part of my job that I do every day is to help people in their homes, and I'm entrusted with the help. I'm helping your loved ones decide some of their healthcare choices or to be able to live and thrive in the county also. There's many organizations that I'm part of, including St. John's, Passages, the Homelessness Prevention Coalition, and the 80 German Warehouse, to name a few, although I've graduated from quite a few when my children left home last year, including 4-H, and anything to do with the schools. I choose to invest here. My time, my business, and my talents. And I feel like these are all some things that I can help with, including, and this is why I'm running, is the transmission lines that are being proposed going through our county as an upgrade, and also that we can make an economic opportunity for all of us here and an impact on where we live. I'd like to thank Southwest Partners and the Ministerial Association for their opportunity to bring us together to do great things together. And in conclusion, please consider me for supervisor in District 14. Thank you. Sign if you want one.
Next will be Michael Windle.
Right in your eyes. Good evening. My name is Mike Windle, and I am pleased to ask for your vote to serve as County Board Supervisor for District 14. For those of you who don't know me, I've lived in Richland Center since I completed law school in 2019, first in the Panorama Apartments, and now in the home that I own with my fiance and our 2 tiny dogs. I was born near Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, go Birds, grew up in Newark, Delaware, and originally moved to Wisconsin in 2013. I experienced small town life for the first time on a bus tour sponsored by the State Bar and knew that that was where I wanted to be. I'm now an attorney who practices government law for a small firm out in Westby, and for the past several years I've been proud to serve as the civil attorney for the county known as Corporation Counsel. I'm asking for your vote because I believe that my experiences working with and within the county give me invaluable insight into not only operations, but potential opportunities as well. Additionally, I know the difficulty of the decisions that will need to be made by the board, and that I am up for the challenge of representing my constituents when those decisions arise. I probably don't need to tell any of you that costs continue to rise, and that applies to local governments as much as those they serve. State law prevents the county from raising taxes to cover the increasing costs of services, assuming the voters would even be interested in such a thing. And unfortunately, as costs increase and revenues are capped, the county will need to take a hard look at its budget and the services it continues to offer. In my opinion, it is better to be proactive about this. so that the county can choose which services it needs to wind down and how, rather than try to deny the reality until we hit a budgetary wall and no longer have a say in what cuts get made. To those who do know me, or think that you do, I hope that you allow me the opportunity to differentiate Attorney Wendell from Mike Wendell. As an attorney, I'm bound to work towards my client's goals, regardless of whether or not I agree with them. I was also limited in the input I could provide in certain decisions, as my opinions were beyond the scope of my legal representation. I assure you that I am my own person with my own priorities and values, and my representation, should you choose to elect me, will be guided by those values. I'm not in this for the power, certainly not in it for the paycheck. I know in my heart that I have the skills, experience, and knowledge to serve you effectively as a county board supervisor, and ask sincerely that you give me that opportunity. Thank you for taking the time to be here tonight, and I plan on sticking around after the presentation to answer questions you may have.
Next will be Kevin Dolan.
Where were you on August 12th? Well, good evening, everyone. It's good to see you here. I am a write-in candidate for District 10 County Board Supervisor. That includes primarily the Ace Hardware area. I was appointed in January to the position, which was an open seat. I was tired of waiting on the sidelines for something good to happen for Richland Center and Richland County. I'm 66 years old, retired, disabled, but I get up every day and I thank God for it. I was born and raised in Madison, Wisconsin, many decades ago. I have roots right here in Richland Center. My maternal grandfather had a farm, which is now down in the co-op area. I have had aunts, uncles, and many cousins in this area. Still have quite a few cousins. I've been back now in Richland Center for 8.5 years. And I figured it was time to stand up and be counted. I do not have a party affiliation. I believe that it is my constituents that comes first. I will not be beholden to any party. As I said, I've been in the position since January of this year, and I am running unopposed as a write-in candidate. And I, too, will be sticking around for questions afterwards. Thank you for your time. This is my first time, by the way.
Next will be City Council candidates, Frank Hoffman.
Hi, I'm Frank Hoffman, and I've accepted the sort of draft to become an alderperson for the city, and I want to lend my years of experience and expertise to the city, and hopefully it'll spill over into the county as well. I have over 40 years experience in medical construction management. I'm an ex-pilot. I have a ministry that I'm part of that I've been president and the pastor of all-creatures.org, which is an international compassion ministry. I am right now the chaplain in the jail here in town. I'm the treasurer of the Richland County Ministerial Association, and I'm also the treasurer of Liddy's House, which is a shelter for families, with children, preferably. And in that experience that I have, I believe that I can help make a difference, a positive difference, both for compassionate living and for those in need in this community. I don't have a lot to say about it, but I have the experience to do the job. Thank you.
Your next city council candidate will be Christopher Jarvis.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's a fantastic venue. My name is Chris Jarvis, and I'm running as a write-in candidate for City Council. That'll be District 1, Wards 1 through 3, and 14 through 17. If you've spent time in Richland Center, there's a good chance our paths have crossed, whether downtown at my pizzeria or at a planning commission meeting or somewhere along the streets of the neighborhoods where my family has lived for generations. And that connection is exactly why I'm here tonight. Like many of you, I care deeply about the future of this community. I'm a longtime resident with deep family roots, and today I'm a small business owner downtown. Running a small business teaches you a lot about responsibility. If something isn't working, you don't ignore it. You roll up your sleeves and work with others to fix it. In my time running that business, I've had countless conversations with people in this community, customers, families, workers, and fellow business owners. And a lot of these conversations come back to the same thing. People want to see progress, they want to feel heard, and they want to believe that the city is moving in the right direction. Those conversations have stuck with me, and they're a big part of why I decided to step forward and run. Over the last year, I've had the opportunity to serve on the Planning Commission, where I've been part of conversations about development, infrastructure, and the long-term future of our city. It's given me a closer look at how decisions are made and how important it is for people to work together to move things forward. Like many small towns, Richland Center faces real challenges. We want our downtown to stay vibrant. We want responsible development that grows the tax base, and we need to make sure that we're managing resources carefully so that we can maintain the services that people depend on. But I also believe the community has real strengths. Hardworking people, strong local businesses, and a long tradition of neighbors helping neighbors. What I want to bring to City Council is a practical, cooperative approach, because local government works best when people listen to each other, respect different perspectives, and focus on solving problems instead of creating them. I'm not running because I've got all the answers. I'm running because I'm willing to put in the work and listen and build those answers with the community. Richland Center has always been a town where people step up when their community needs them. That's why I'm running, and that's why I'm asking for your vote as a write-in candidate for City Council. Thank you.
Next, we'll have mayoral candidates Karin Tepley and Kramer.
Technical issues. Hello. When we get to this, give me a second. Give me a second. Check 1, 2.
All right, I think we're ready. Ready, set, go. I'd like to begin by thanking Southwest Partners, WRCO, and the Richland County Ministerial Association for organizing and sponsoring this event. Good evening, everyone. I would like to also thank you for showing your engagement in our community by being here tonight. I'm Karin Tepley, and I am thankful to call Richland Center home. We are a tight-knit and a very giving community with hardworking families, strong values, and worthwhile assets like our downtown, our parks, historic architecture, and natural beauty. I am running for mayor because I believe we can build on those strengths and create a prosperous, resilient future for every resident, young families, seniors, and everyone in between. My vision is to focus on practical, focused leadership on the 4 core pillars we can realistically achieve: smart economic growth, responsible housing solutions, reliable infrastructure, vibrant community life. Pillar 1, economic growth and opportunity. If we begin now, we can change the population trajectory that we've been on. As mayor, I will collaborate to increase outreach to attract businesses that are trending today to locate in our industrial park. We have wonderful businesses throughout our community, and I will prioritize working with Wisconsin Economic Development with their Connect Communities program for our downtown, which gives us opportunities like the Vibrant Places Grant. I will support growth for all businesses with streamlined processes, so we will attract additional businesses and easier for our existing ones to grow. The goal is simple: a modern job climate, a stronger tax base, and which will improve our current assets and promote growth. When businesses succeed, our entire community wins. Pillar 2, responsible housing for all generations. We know housing costs have increased sharply, and we need affordable options at all levels. For young families just starting out, and for seniors looking to stay in the community they love. My practical path forward is to pursue programs that assist with housing while keeping the burden of taxpayers in mind. That means possible incentives for redevelopment on underused sites like the campus property, and continued focus on infill development already called for in our comprehensive plan. I'll work with council and standing committees for resident input and processes so our decisions reflect our goals and our proven tools for responsible growth. Meeting the full spectrum needs in that housing, that honors who we are and who we are becoming is essential for growing responsibly. Pillar 3, reliable infrastructure and transportation. Safe roads, sidewalks, trails, and electric and water systems aren't glamorous, but they are the foundation of what we do every day. Our comprehensive plan calls for long-range capital improvement plan and for transportation network, proactive maintenance, better pedestrian paths, and ADA improvements. As mayor, I will work with our partners to be sure that our infrastructure dollars are spent wisely by planning and using grants where possible. We will begin by making use of the recent pavement service evaluation report, so we will fix the problems before they become a crisis. I will also continue partnerships with the state DOT and county on larger projects. When our streets and utilities work well, daily life improves for everyone, whether you're walking to the park or commuting to work. Pillar 4, vibrant parks, recreation, and community spirit. Richland Center's parks, events, and community spirit are what makes this place special. It is what keeps people here and what brings new people in. We've made some real progress. Our updated recreation plan is in place, along with new branding and wayfinding signage is up. We've seen real tourism growth in recent years, and there's more opportunity ahead. By showcasing our outdoor adventure, historic assets, and community events, we can build on that momentum and bring more visitors and more dollars to our local economy. But our community has spoken clearly, and there isn't enough for us to do for our youth and adults. As mayor, I will take that seriously. We do need more events and recreational opportunities and creative outlets, like public art and internships that keep our young families engaged and want to grow here. Strong community ties are what makes a good community a great one. In closing, this vision, economic growth, responsible housing, reliable infrastructure, and vibrant community life is achievable because it builds directly on our existing strengths and plans. It's about leadership that listens, acts responsibly, and puts goals for Richland Center at the center. We are more than a place on a map. We are home to our families, our memories, and our future. Thank you.
Everybody hear me? Check. All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Elijah Kramer, mayoral candidate, and we got some Oscar music we can roll, and I'd like to thank you guys for being here. Of course, thank you, Sheila. Thank you, David. And thank you for Southwest Partners putting this together. Thank you even to the light guy. Thank you, light guy. All right. So, try not to trip here. So, we all know what outcomes we desire, right? We know we want an increased population. We want more housing. And actually, shouldn't say want, we need. We want to, or need to, revitalize or to continue to improve on the business relationships, the businesses coming in. We need to bring people in, both population and worker-wise, right? We know all that, but how are we gonna get there, right? Yes, there's plans, there's reports. We got the comprehensive plan with no actual dates in it for target dates or milestones. We've got a long time in trying to, and nothing against anybody here, there has been a lot of effort and a lot of work that has gone into these things, right? But we need a slightly different approach. And we really need to focus on our planning process. We really need to focus on collaborating with other agencies, particularly the county. You know, collaboration between the city and the county has been, no surprise, rough for a while. And while it'd be great to be able to put housing developments at where the UW campus used to be and where the buildings still are, can't do any of that without some type of compromise or negotiating and a plan with the county. All right. We want to forego or to avoid what the very comprehensive plan and the U.S. Bureau of, not labor statistics, the U.S. Census Bureau says, in which around 2030 time frame, if we don't start increasing those things, deaths are going to outnumber births. And if we don't have people moving in, we're going to continue on that downward trend that we are in population right now. Okay? So, I'm not promising anything. What I am promising is that I will use my strategic level skills, okay? I will look at the planning, I will look at the orchestration, I will look at the execution, I will do everything that I possibly can to change those trajectories, those population trajectories right now. The affordable housing crisis, not just housing, but affordable housing, which is different for different areas within the household income brackets, okay? Do we need to look at, or I'm sorry, not look at, but do we need to improve and work on the downtown area? Absolutely. And as many of you have probably read, I group in the Center Square with that because not only is it a commercial area, but it's also one of the biggest areas or things that people see driving in on that side of the town. And there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of, I guess, we could consider it waste because it's not being used, okay? So, while I can't promise specifically how things are going to turn out, what I can promise is that I work for the people, and I need the people to communicate with me. Tell me how I'm doing. Tell me what I'm not doing. Call me out. Hopefully politely. But I don't shy of cuss words or anything like that, so whatever you gotta send me, send me. But I need you guys to hold me accountable as well. So thank you for this opportunity, and I definitely want to do everything I can for this community that I've been a part of for the last, technically 8 years, but resident of the past 6 years. Thank you.
Mic check. Okay, now it's time for the questions. Okay, Karin, we'll start with you. What are 3 values you hold that will guide your position as mayor of Richland Center? Based on those values, what would be your top 3 priorities for this city during your term as mayor?
Thank you. My top 3 values that would guide me, number 1 would be stewardship. Being responsible for taxpayer dollars is like the most important job we do in government, not only for the short term, but the long-term plans of our city. Would go integrity, empathy, would be, I'm going to combine those 2. Often, it's integrity is said, doing the right thing when no one's watching. Also leads to transparency, and then also making decisions that are honest, and once again, transparent to the highest and best use in mind. And the empathy, it's the ability to understand and the needs of diverse constituents. The third would be perseverance. I think my daughter has said that. It's been my gift. Having the ability to keep on and going forward to the end of the goal. When working with council, administrators, department heads, counties, partners on specific projects, and with the community in mind for common sense solutions. Standing on the stage, when I was in 2nd grade, I had the lead role in the role of the little engine that could. And I can still picture myself sitting in that cardboard box, scooting my feet like this across the stage saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. So the priorities, I think I mentioned them once again in my intro, but economic development, that's huge. It covers just about everything we do. Looking at forming a possible community development economic authority. Fitchburg has one. Attracting new businesses, and I mentioned that in my intro. Second would be housing and infrastructure. Housing study of 2018, updated in 2024, says, we need affordable housing at all levels. And the third is community engagement. We need to work on that for the people who live here, not just the tourists. And possible, public-private partnerships that could move a skate park forward, or maybe an indoor rec center. I've seen it done by a company called Uline, which I'm sure you've all heard of, in the community that they're from.
Okay. What are 3 values you hold that will guide your position as mayor of Richland Center? Based on those values, what would be your top 3 priorities for this city during your term as mayor?
So, family, service to community, and honor and integrity. Now, I know that's 4, but you can't have honor without integrity and integrity without honor. Those come from several years of having to live by and adhere to not only the Army values, but the Air Force core values as well. So those have kind of transferred into all of those. And family, not just my family, but family in general, okay? We have a lot of families that are struggling, we have a lot of families who need affordable housing. We have a lot of families that could potentially move here when we have those things. Service to community, I guess I think is kind of self-explanatory, but I mean, that's basically all I've done since turning 12 years old. 18, of course, I was in the Army. What's, you know, serving our community more than that. I mean, there's other things too, but, and then of course, as a behavioral health provider working in the background, since I can't, you know, say, hey, I've done this, and we've done this, and we've done this. But I want to continue that because that's exactly what I would have to do. Not only have to, but want to, right? Honor and integrity, also self-explanatory. Again, I want to be as transparent as possible. Well, as transparent as, you know, you guys want me to be, which I know is a lot. You guys want me to be extremely transparent, so therefore, call me out. If you're not getting information, call me out, okay? And that translates into, you know, the population growth, the economic growth, right? And as Karin had said, that is the biggest thing that we have, and it covers the housing, the commercial development, and she also is focusing on community engagement, but I feel that community engagement and participation by you, not just the voters, but the people that live here, whether you vote or not, people who interact with Richland Center, to be able to provide your feedback, your responses, your input, whether you're angry at me, whether you're angry at someone else, whether you're frustrated, whether you're happy. That's always good too, all right? But we really need to increase the community engagement both ways, and that then allows us at the government level to do what you guys need done.
Elijah, we'll start with you this time. How would you describe your leadership style?
So, the term or the name of the leadership style that I use would be called situational leadership. It's also known as a hybrid. There are quite a few leadership styles. We've all, I'm sure, seen them, right? When we think of, you know, military, we think of autocratic, right? Do this or else. Yes, that is one of the leadership styles, but at the same time, you know, there's transactional, there is democratic or participatory. There are a number of them that are effective in different situations. And of course, as you know, mayor, every day is probably going to be a different situation. But when you're dealing with different types of people in different types of situations, different types of contexts, time crunches or emergencies, it requires a different approach to leadership, okay? Sometimes it's okay to take your time with something and to coach or mentor people through because you have that time before a deadline or a target date to help develop them and to help them better themselves professionally and personally. Sometimes that's not the case, right? So yes, while autocratic sounds bad, there are times in which it is, we need this done, so do it now, and we'll talk about it later. There's also times in which we can be participatory or democratic, right? Give me your feedback, tell me what you would like to do, or what, you know, all of you would like to be done. And it takes acknowledgement and recognition of when those times are right. Otherwise we waste time, or otherwise we spend unneeded resources. So I think that, you know, leadership isn't just one style, but it is a strategic use of all of them, except for laissez-faire.
Okay, so under leadership style, out of the four main ones, I zoned in on transformational. This type of leader will focus on setting a vision, helping to support one another to meet their goals, and these leaders provide positive reinforcement, foster and encourage work culture. Some of the lesser ones would be to be inclusive and listening focused, seeking input from a wide range of voices before making decisions, also decisive but consultative, gathering facts, consult stakeholders, and then act with clarity and purpose. Like I said, there are, as a mayor, you're going to be, like I said, given many different situations, but I think most of the time that you're going to want to be able to gather the facts and make sure you're consulting a wider group. Along with that, I think I would have to say the heart of a servant leader. I don't think I could have been in council for 8 years if I didn't have one of those. Thank you.
We now have a question submitted from the audience. Karin, we will begin with you. What do you know about the homeless situation in Richland Center? Do you have any plans to address homelessness?
Yes, I know they do like a count 2 times per year. I don't always see the tallies of how many homeless we have. I can say, personally, working at the bike shop last week, and a gentleman came in and after some conversation learned that he was homeless. It's a tough situation. We would like to, be able to have housing such as Lydia's house, and something for men. I don't think we have a whole lot in our community for men. As far as solutions to solve that, I would like to see, housing opening up, for people. Obviously, jobs, you really have to sit down and talk to the folks and see what their current situation is.
Elijah, what do you know about the homeless situation in Richland Center? Do you have any plans to address homelessness?
So any number of homeless people in any given area is, of course, not a good thing. In the last 6 years alone, working here in the clinic, we've worked with homeless people. We have done what we can based on their level of motivation and desire to, do what they can to resolve the situation, right? Because if they don't want help, they don't want help. And, unfortunately, there are individuals that don't. That being said, there are a lot of individuals who really do want to find housing, and they really do want to be food secure, and they don't want to be sleeping on the floor of one of the laundromats or, freezing half to death during the winter. So, as Karin had mentioned, Lydia's house, and not that I have a direct line, but if somebody needs help and they are eligible for Lydia's house, we've helped and sent plenty of people there, even facilitated it, and of course we have the county resources, which sure, sometimes they're not there, or sometimes they need more resources, the individual. Long-term solutions, of course, are the affordable housing issue. And there are, there is financial help and stuff like that for individuals that are willing to do what they need to do to qualify for those programs and to remain eligible for those programs and to get into housing and get assistance with work, get treatment, whether it's mental health or substance abuse, because a lot of those things go hand in hand. And so yes, not only do I know about the homeless problem, but I also agree that it is something that needs to be addressed. I think we need to, before it starts getting cold again in a few months, a handful of months, we need to make sure that our plan for the winter months is solid, and that we have everything ready to go before temperatures dip, probably even below, 50, 40. So
Elijah, we'll start with you. What do you consider the biggest challenges for our city right now?
There's a lot. So, biggest challenges, and this kind of coincides with what's already been talked about by both of us. Of course, the declining population, right? Not that Richland Center is ever going to have 0 people in it, right? But without that increase in population, well, that impacts city revenue and tax revenue, and it impacts quality of life. It impacts the resources we can bring to the city. It impacts the businesses that are going to be in the city, whether they come or go, or whatever the case may be. So, the declining population is a major concern because it's been going on for so long. And of course, we're kind of in a big picture way, right? Because our population has been declining since the 80s. But now we're at the point where it's kind of like, okay, well, if we don't correct that trajectory, we're going to start losing more revenue. We're going to not have resources for the people that are here. And of course, we're going to not be replenishing the population. Community engagement and participation. That is a really big thing. I talked about it already, but the reason it's a huge thing that I certainly want to address is because when it comes to things like the comprehensive plan or other studies or initiatives or deciding what initiatives or projects to plan and to execute, it really does take your input and your feedback, okay? And over the years, that's been lacking. And not just here, and nothing bad about the people of Richland Center. It's kind of a worldwide thing, national thing. But the more that we can engage together, the more that we can collaborate, the more that we can become part of the solution and offer solutions and talk things through, the more it helps with the things that we need to do here. And then collaboration between the city and Richland County. And the reason I list that as a big thing is because there are things that are hinging on it, right? Signings. That hinges a lot on, what we can work out between the county and other options and things like that. But also the campus property, the planned or the plans that have been discussed for the housing development above the campus. That takes the county and the city. Okay, so there's quite a few things that require collaboration, compromise, and negotiation between both county and city.
Okay, so the biggest challenges I believe facing Richland Center has been talked about was the population decline, and reversing that trend is really important. There are communities that are really close by that are reduced. They're on the positive side of things, where we're on the negative, and they're not that far away. So there's things that we can be doing here if we start now. And I said that earlier, but it's by reaching out, to entities that are available with either schools and that type of thing. But in order to grow our population, we have to have the things that people want here. Like I say, there are communities that have a freeway nearby or something like that. There are a lot of things in our community that people enjoy. And we need to just get out there and talk about that a little bit more. I know it was some time ago, but Drew Nussbaum, who is the tourism coordinator for our area with Travel Wisconsin, and his comment was, "You're just too quiet about what you've got going on here. You need to, start shouting it from the rooftops." So, putting out some marketing material, actually talking about signage, talking about the bike trails that we have there's no fee. There's a lot of things that we could be doing to make others, very aware that we are a destination as well. Housing availability, once again, on all levels, that's can't be overstated. We could talk about that, for a long time, but how we do that once again, through that housing study that was done in 2018. They talk about the move up. You build for the move up and the seniors who want to downsize. So if you're doing that, I'm going to have to show you. If you do that, you can then make available housing for people who are first-time buyers and who are renters, and then you have the families that can move into homes that are from the seniors that have been downsizing. Economic stagnation, once again, I think we need to start shouting from the rooftops. You know, our industrial park has available space, and to do some reach out to other either companies that are in bigger cities, that they may be looking to expand. So, like I say, once again, that reach out is really important. Aging infrastructure, roads, water systems, public utilities, facilities, that type of thing. I've seen the budget, so I know that the expense that we need to keep spending year after year to keep the roads, in good shape. Like I said, there was a study just recently done that will allow us to have that, that data that we need to say, this is where we need to service.
Sorry to interrupt, but your time is complete.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Okay, Karin, beginning with you. The role of mayor has changed with the position of a city administrator added to our government structure. What do you see as the role of the mayor and role of the city administrator? For example, who sets policy and vision for the city, and whose role is it to ensure government laws, ordinances, and policies are enforced?
That's for me. I'm up first. All right. So as far as the mayor's role, the mayor is the CEO of the city. He sets the vision, priorities, policy direction. The mayor will take care of city ordinances, state laws, and observe that they are enforced. Elected voice of representative to the community, to the media, and the mayor also presides at all meetings of council, also has the veto power, and the city administrator reports to the mayor. So, I've heard conversations, that's because we have an administrator that the mayor's role is somehow weakened. Well, it's still the CEO, so keep that in mind. City administrator's role, implement policies and manage the day-to-day operations, supervise the city staff and department heads, provides mayor and council with data and recommendations. And the Wisconsin City and County Management Organization states, having an administrator provides more direct accountability to the board and council for proper operation of municipal services, and the administrator can provide that continuity when their new persons are elected officials. So that's important.
No. Thank you. So yes, as Karin pointed out, the mayor is the chief executive of the city. And if we think about any major organization, Disney, I like Disney, so I use it as an example, their CEO is overall responsible for the company's vision, mission, and stuff like that. So in this case, the mayor, as mayor, I propose policies and set the vision for the city because we have 8 individuals who are on the city council that determine whether that policy is going to be official. When that happens, then yes, it is the job of the administrator, the city administrator, to ensure that that policy is implemented, to ensure that the department heads and the city employees are performing their duties, to basically manage them on a day-to-day basis. But any CEO in any company, because he has the overall responsibility, because responsibility cannot be delegated, only authority can. That CEO has the responsibility to make sure that things are happening from the top to the bottom, bottom to the top. That includes the policy implementation, that includes the day-to-day stuff, not, directly, but also being responsible for the enforcement of the laws, the ordinances, and the policies. So that is my response.
Elijah, we'll start with you.
Okay.
This is a question from the audience. Many community members are concerned that nearly every city council vote is unanimous. Do you feel the council members are doing enough research to make educated decisions?
You gotta put me in a tight spot, don't you? But again, transparency, integrity, and honor, right? Do I feel being educated as a behavioral health provider and educated in cognitive behavioral theory, how to do the therapy, amongst other things, do I believe that there has been enough time, typically, between introduction of an issue and voting on it? No, absolutely not. Because as human beings, the way our human brain works is the first thing we do when we hear something is we go into emotional response or reaction, usually a reaction. Depending on the intensity of that emotional reaction, it is very unlikely that there is time to logically think that process through, to process the information, to make a decision that accounts for the unemotional part of that response. In addition to that, people do need to think about things outside of the environment in which they learn them. If I am in a social environment with my friends and they're like, oh yeah, this is a great thing, we should do this, I'm more inclined to think that way. It's kind of part of groupthink. But outside of that environment and given the time, I can do my research from multiple sources. I can look at what does this mean, what does that mean. Yes, it is human nature to and I'm sure many of you have heard the term before, instant gratification, right? If I offer you $5,000 now or $50,000 in a year, the majority of you are going to take that $5,000 now because you could use it. We can all use it, right? Problem is then we don't consider in that moment what the consequences are a year from now, 20 years from now, whatever the case may be. So yes, whatever that would look like, whether it's asking the council to go back to twice-a-month meetings, to give that time, I feel that it is our responsibility to vote according to what we learn and what we've researched after given that opportunity, after it's introduced. And also because we're supposed to, council members are supposed to vote in accordance with constituents' wishes, you can't really get that input from them in 10, 20, 30 minutes, right? So I feel that it's extremely important, except for urgent issues or emergency issues, which would be communicated, that we really take the time, the necessary time, not 6 months' time if we don't need it, but take the time to balance out the pros, the cons, the risks, the benefits, not just for ourselves as individuals, but also for the families and the districts and the people that live in the city or the area in which that decision is going to impact.
Okay, so all right, I'll just back up in my own brain. Many times previously to having an administrator, we would get information and there would be questions. I was probably one of those that would call whoever's name was next to the item on the agenda and find out, ask the questions, 3 or 4. And now that we have an administrator, so when issues come forth, so we typically get our information, the packet and the agenda, either Thursday or Friday. So we have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday to go over it, to do the research that we want. But a lot of our information is provided by our staff. We also receive a cover sheet that lists all the pertinent information, because there could be 150 pages of documentation in that packet for one subject. So we will go through, the staff goes through and they pick the highlights, the important information, and and then work us through it. Now, if we still have questions, obviously we still have time to, and find out. So while it might seem like we're just walking lockstep with the motion, there's quite a bit of research that has already been done and provided to us. So while I agree, you should never vote if you still have questions, and those can be answered. Many times they bring in professionals that have something to do with that topic, so we can ask right then and there. But if you don't feel that you have your questions answered, or you feel that you still need time, yeah, of course, you should take that time. But there's a lot of information that's provided for us before we say yes or no.
Okay, Karen, starting with you. Economic development is a pathway in supporting the success and growth of our local businesses, industries, agriculture, downtown, and schools. How would you prioritize bringing a strong economic development focus to our community? How do you think the city and county could work together for economic development?
Okay, thank you. Economic development is kind of at my heart. It's just something that I've always been interested in. Went back to school in 2014 with a business management degree, and economic development is just something that I thrive on. So I've mentioned this before, but I think establishing a dedicated entity for economic development, such as a CDA, which is a community development authority, so not like a committee or a commission or a board, it has real authority, which typically has 5 private sector people and 2 seats from a city council. Creating business-friendly environment. We have Wisconsin Economic Development. The Connect Communities could assist with this. Streamlining permits, red tape, Southwest Regional Planning, also with comprehensive plan, gives ideas as well. Engage in downtown revitalization through WEDIX programs that offer incentives for new business, expanding businesses. Connect Communities program, again, would be key in this area. And they have kind of their niche is to like offering organization, design, economic vitality, and promotion. And then supporting agriculture by connecting farmers with local markets, processing facilities. Part of the EPA market study that they did for Orange Street was the idea of possibly closing 1 block of Jefferson Street between Court and Mill. So that would be a great place for a farmer's market and other types of market, kind of an urban park, so to speak. That could be something we can talk about. And then if you can always engage Southwest Tech to align, workforce training and employer. As far as the city-county, I would be interested in taking a look at this if the county had, their own economic development right now as a way of, you're not duplicating energy and resources and that type of thing. So I would like to see the city's economic development, to be a little bit more established before we go into there. But what I would like to do is establish regular joint meetings between the city and the city council and the board, county board, to align priorities and pursue joint city-county economic strategies with shared goals, metrics, present unified fronts when recruiting businesses, applying for grants, and the like.
No, thank you. So there's 6 key factors to economic development: workforce and human capital, how we employ our people, how we lead them, how we train them, also business growth and investment. I mean, huge one, right? I've already talked about it. How do we invest in businesses? How do we invest in their future and their, essentially security, right? Institutional frameworks, taxes and policies. I know the taxes piece, right, is a huge thing. And so, of course, by looking at infrastructure improvement and improving that. For example, the roads. We know that there are some roads that really need to be fixed. We know that we need housing, right? That all goes into sustainability and quality of life, which is another key factor of economic growth, okay? And that includes our parks, housing, our events, and our culture here, okay? Those are things that we need to focus on and maintain or improve, as well as regional competitiveness, right? We want businesses to be competitive. We want to have more than one, industry, which we do, but we want that competitiveness that you see in typical business, right? Because it brings people in, it brings revenue in. So the other thing, like with the county, what happens in the county impacts us, what happens in the city impacts the county. I don't think that there should be a period of waiting to say, okay, well, let's get our ducks in a row before we include the county or ask the county. And that's because while we're doing that, things could be happening that we're going to be duplicating or wasting resources on that we could be collaborating with the county on. So very early on, my plan is to open dialogue with the county, particularly with the county administrator, who is a social worker, and hopefully be able to have that conversation with her about how can we go back to a period of collaboration and joint planning and working for both the city and the county as a whole.
Alexia, we'll start with you. What are your plans to address the shortage of housing in Richland Center?
So, of course, you've heard both of us say affordable housing at all levels. Yes, absolutely. But how do we do that? Well, we need to have land to do so, right? Of course, we're landlocked, so it's a little tricky. But, there have been plans talked about for example, the next Panorama building. With that starting to move along, that will create additional apartments, of course. They're not necessarily affordable depending on who the family is moving in there. However, then, we've heard a lot of talk about the land near the high school or above the campus. Of course, it doesn't matter if we have development plans for that, if we can't come to some type of agreement with the county on using that land for that. When we do have development plans, which we've had for a very long time, we need to really focus on setting timeframes, target dates for those goals, all right? Let's not say, okay, we want this developed in a month. We want a builder building in a month. Let's try to, support the bidding process by saying, okay, well, we want to start this project in 6 months. That opens the window, the door to additional developers, right? We can call around, we can talk to developers, because I guarantee you that if I was to say, you know what, I need to get a building developer in here tomorrow, so I need to call around tonight, I'm probably not going to find one. But if I say, okay, well, the plan is that in 6 months we want to be breaking ground, let's get a hold of developers, and we're going to have probably a much better opportunity in doing that. But we also need to prioritize, right? Because we have so many issues to work on that intertwine with each other, that if we have tunnel vision and we focus solely on, okay, let's get this housing thing done, other things are going to continue to deteriorate or not improve. And so we need to be able to switch our focus and be able to say, okay, here we are at this point in the plan. Now we can move on to this point in the other plan while we monitor this, but then we focus on this as our priority. So it all needs to kind of happen together in different levels of priority.
So yeah, in a nutshell, we have to be ready for developers. So to do that, we can work within the Plan Commission to update zoning that would allow for housing diversity. We have planned unit development, often is a mix of residential, commercial, and recreational. We can also have what they call the accessory dwelling units, kind of known as the granny flat or the mom-in-law apartment. You know, to look at possibilities also of tax incremental, there we go, districts or TIDs. You know, most communities have several of those going at any one time. I can tell you from the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, under their topic of economic development, they say that the TID is the tool to increase economic development for housing. We can continue to encourage infill development, you know, building on vacant and or underutilized lots. That could be the campus property. That's also called for in our comprehensive plan. And then make sure that we are sharing information on programs and grants available through Wisconsin Economic Development, WIDA, and even our own NHS. If people aren't aware of the grants and possible housing opportunities, there was one just recently where I think it was WIDA that was offering it, where they were offering $20,000 per unit on any second level for apartments in your downtown. So you'd have retail on the bottom, housing on the top. $20,000 per unit. I talked to a few people, and they didn't know about it. So we really need to get that word out, because they could be providing housing and using those plans. And we can always support historic preservation incentives. We do live in a historic downtown area. It's historic. And we can certainly take advantage of some of these programs that the state and federal offer.
Karin, beginning with you, we have another question from the audience. Our county's population is projected to decline from 17,304 in 2020 to 12,345 in 2050. This threatens our businesses and other places of work to fewer workers and customers, schools, even fewer students. Do you support the city maintaining a robust economic development function to try to mitigate this trend? Would you like the question repeated?
No, that's okay. I say absolutely. You know, for the city to support, like I say, there's many different ways that, you know, that you can go about it. I mentioned, you know, WIDA and WIDA, and there's others that can help with both our downtown housing, and we just need to, you know, put those programs on the front burner and start looking at how we can work with those. I have good relationships with our state level representatives, and, you know, I've already talked to them and said I want to have a conversation after April 7th, regardless, to see how we can put some of these programs into place in Richland Center. They're doing it in other communities, once again, not too far from here, so that they are on the plus side of these population, and we are not, but we could be.
Again, question from the audience. Our county's population is projected to decline from 17,304 in 2020 to 12,345 in 2050. This threatens our businesses and other places of work to fewer workers and customers, schools, even fewer students. Do you support the city maintaining a robust economic development function to try to mitigate this trend?
Short answer, yes! Exclamation point. Remember, the economic growth and having a program or plan for that, not just plan, but serious execution as well, covers all of the things, all of those issues that we've talked about, those issues that we're dealing with, the businesses, the housing, the population decline. Remember, you know, yes, while it's important, the county's population overall declining down to 12,000 is not entirely actionable by, you know, anybody in the city government. directly because, you know, we can't control the townships and what happens there. We can't tell the county what to do. But that is exactly why I was talking about that collaboration, those early conversations and the compromising, the negotiations with the county to get them on board with, you know, joint economic growth initiatives. Because again, in an area in which our resources are scarce, we don't want to be duplicating, we don't want to be, you know, wasting additional money or resources and things like that. So, yes, absolutely, it is important because, you know, with all the plans that we have had for a long time now, it's about tweaking those plans and it's about executing them, for lack of a better term, surgically. And using the resources that we know that are there. So then, why haven't they been used yet? Let's get out there and let's get them used so that we can get the housing, increase the business, bring other businesses in, and bring families in that want to be here.
Elijah, we'll start with you. We have another question from the audience. What part does the city have with the ambulance, and what is going to happen?
So, what is ultimately going to happen is unpredictable at this point. The EMS is in county's hands. It is a county-owned thing. What they decide, of course, is up to them. Hopefully, the process of deciding what that looks like doesn't occur until after the election. However, regardless, you know, what they decide, that's when we'll know the impact it has on us. Sure, it'll still impact us if they decide to maintain it at the county level, but it will also, if you know it goes away or it is given to a third-party service. You know, I know some of those people in EMS, and you know they live around here, they work here, and that's going to impact them significantly. And so I'm hoping that there will be room for discussion after the election. But at that point, how the county decides, you know, how they decide on what they do with EMS will certainly then, you know, we'll have to make decisions from that point. Clearly, we can't go without an EMS. We have to have it, just like police department, fire department, emergency management, gas stations, you know, internet, all that stuff. We have to have it. So we have to figure out, and Simons, we got, you know, we really need Simons. So these are things that are going to really have to be focused on, and there's going to have to be, it's what we call bilateral communication. So back and forth, right? Back and forth. And that needs to start immediately after taking office.
So with the EMS situation, this was a surprise to me, but according to state statutes, the county nor the city are required to provide EMS. Only townships are, and I'm not too sure why. But that's directed from the state. And the county is the only entity that can increase that are allowed to increase their tax levy to cover that item. So the city is really kind of, you know, at the mercy of some decisions. I will say that the county is expecting results back from a study that they had put forth. I think it should be, I think it's the end of this month. So once again, it is kind of a little bit of the writing's on the wall. If the county is the only entity that can increase their tax levy to cover the EMS, you know, even if it goes to a private, conversations that I've heard, even if it were to go private, they would still be able to increase that levy to cover the townships and whatnot that are wanting to be covered by the EMS. There are a few townships in outlying areas. Yuba, for example, they're in a different, they've got their ambulance service taken care of. So they would, it would still have to be countywide, but funds would just go to those entities. It's a little, you know, some more information still needs to come forth, but we're hoping that the county realizes the position they're in and the position they're putting us in.
I know this is unusual, can I add to that real quick? Because that study has been done. The study is out, and the county will be holding their meeting on that on the 30th, the same night of the special session of the common council. So on Monday night at 5 o'clock, they're going to be addressing that.
Okay, now for our final question of the night. Karin, we'll begin with you. What is your approach to transparency, and how can residents hold your office accountable? Would you advocate for making the city website more user-friendly and more transparent?
Okay, thank you. Yes, the website could definitely use some easier ways to find things. I worked on it a lot, so I know how to find things, but that's not saying that everyone does. So that was our first go at, you know, having a more user-friendly website. And the company that we use, they provide kind of a template for us to put information in. So we can always work on that to make that easier for the average person to work through, because I agree, it's a little hard to find. Some of the other things that I would like to do is hold regular town halls, maybe not quite in a room this big, but in maybe the library and whatnot, so that we have, they're held in different places, not just City Hall. I would also like to bring, if there's a topic, you know, that's most recent, I would like to bring professionals or expert guests on the panel. Once again, social media, if we use social media to do links at this point, at least using links to, you know, bring people to the area where they can find things. So, you know, most people still use Facebook and Instagram, so those things could also be stepped up. I was fortunate enough to bring the city's Facebook page to fruition, so at least we got that part going, and like I said, the staff is now posting meetings and that type of thing, but, you know, it can also, you know, be stepped up quite a bit. And as one of my goals, that's what I would do once elected. I would continue with the WRCO morning show that Mayor Todd had started. So I talked to Phil yesterday, he said I would be welcome, so I was happy. And then just look at possibly creating, you know, Mayor's Minutes, so we have, you know, a little bit more information as the month goes on, so it's not, you know, a long period of time in between. And then commit to responding to constituents' inquiries, and making sure that the constituent knows who their representative is and keep them in the loop. That's very important.
Transparency. So when we say transparency, you know, usually that means seeing through, right? So seeing through the bureaucracy, seeing through, you know, misperception, seeing through secrecy, seeing through whatever it is, you know, that the community, that the constituents, and not just the constituents, even people that live here that can't vote. You know, that is why there's communication and then there's engagement, right? Both should be proactive. Sometimes it has to be reactive. But the point I'm making is that in order to be transparent, I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect. I don't know what Jimmy 2 blocks down the road wants to know about a specific situation, so that's why I need to be asked. However, when it comes to communicating and engaging, right, there's the communication, keeping you informed. Yes, the radio show, that's been pretty popular, so that's going to continue. It'll probably be on Fridays, who knows. But, you know, using the Facebook page, right? Using listening sessions or town halls, whichever term you want to use, right? Being able to come to me and say, hey, you said this, where is it, or what is it, or this is what I understand. And then being able to have that respectful conversation of, that's not what I said, or that's not what I meant, but this is what I meant, or this is what I said, and let's solve this problem, okay? Again, call me out. Put it on Facebook that I said something that wasn't correct. Put it on Facebook. Call me. 608-475-7908. Call me. I mean, preferably not when I'm sleeping. That'd be great. But call me, okay? Send me an email. Stop by the office. Hey, what's up with this? You said you were going to tell us about this, and that didn't happen. Because again, I'm getting older, and so my memory isn't as great as it was when I was cruising through the sands of Iraq. So, hold me accountable, okay? That also means with accomplishing things that I and my fellow elected officials set out, to carry out, right? We measure success in two things: completion of the actual mission and task, and the efficiency of that outcome. Meaning, oh, did we spend more money than we'd actually planned for? That's not necessarily a full success, right? But being able to measure success is meeting those milestones, which if anybody ever is to stop by the office if I'm elected, you will see things like Gantt charts and charts this and charts that, because that is how I plan. I am a visual person that follows target dates, milestones, and if they need to change, great, but there has to be a reason for it, not because, oh, I decided I didn't want to do it last week, okay? That is how we accomplish things. That is how we accomplish what we need to accomplish, and that's how you hold me accountable.
Well, we'd like to thank Karin and Elijah for all of their willingness to come here tonight and share their views. We'd also like to thank all of the candidates that came and spoke. If your question did not get addressed, we will give them to the candidates and we will ask them to respond on their election page. We would also like to acknowledge and thank the following individuals that are not seeking re-election at this time for their service. Thank you to Mayor Todd Coppernall, Councilman Ron Fruit, and Tom McCarthy for their service to the City of Richland Center, and to County Supervisors Gary Manning, Elaine Hendricks, Julie Fleming, and Chad Cosgrove for their service to Richland County. These committees are time-consuming and take a lot of time from their families, so if you get the opportunity, please thank them for their service. We'd also like to thank again Southwest Partners, Richland County Ministerial Association, and WRCO for sponsoring this very important event. And I would like to take a moment to thank the Richland Center City Auditorium and their committee and all the hard work. I think they really deserve a round of applause. I think those seats are pretty nice. Also, I was asked to say that Community Players is going to be having Snow White here, April 17th through the 26th. So it's a classic story about children as dwarfs. The other thing is, just a reminder, if you live in the City of Richland Center, you will vote at the Richland Center Community Center. If you live in one of the townships, you will vote at your township hall. Our hope is that you will be more informed when you go to vote, and we wish all the candidates good luck in the election. And see here, we have gotta get to my paperwork here, sorry. We have a closing prayer.
I am Reverend Tim Ward, or Mr. Ward out at the high school, or Pastor Tim on Life Tracks on the radio. And I'm unretired and moved here with my wife about 4 years ago to be the interim pastor at the Free Methodist Church here in Richland Center. And I want you guys to know, when somebody moves here, they fall in love with this place. We talked about population decline, and I don't think it has to be that way. I think this is a unique environment here in Richland Center, Richland County, and I think we can be proud of that. And I thank the candidates for all that they've said tonight, and the fact that we have this opportunity to come and even hear this. We need to thank God for that. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, it's amazing to me that you have given us a country and a place like America, like Richland Center, like Wisconsin, that we are allowed to have freedom of thought and freedom of discourse. Freedom to share our ideas, freedom to object with others. We thank you for that freedom that you've given to us. We thank you for the heritage that we have as a Christian nation. And Father, even as we have brought up all these ideas, we know that everything is in your hands, and we give you thanks for that. Father, I pray that your will would be done in all that we do, and even in this election coming April 7th. Father, we pray that everything that we do, say, and think will bring glory only to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
We ask that you stay and have delicious refreshments in the lobby that are provided by Christie's Sunnyside Bakery and Cafe, and have the opportunity to meet all the candidates in person. Go home safely. Thank you.